So this is a Woodshop review, and we haven't really done one of these, although I usually talk about the wood shops that decks come from. But this wood shop specifically is Clutch Woodshops. So that is Julio de la Cruz. I don't know if it's his wood shop, but he is the person who I contacted to get this deck. So this is an 8-inch deck, and I specified that I wanted steep concave. So it has quite steep concave. Let's get into the measurements. So it's 8 inches wide. It is 31 3/4 long. It has a 6 3/4 tail from there to the bolt, and it has 7-inch nose from there to the bolts. And the kick from the bolts up to the tail is about 2 fingers of flat. So really nice. The nose is maybe a tiny bit less, but still pretty consistent, about 2 fingers of flat. And let's take a look at the shape of this deck. So it's often hard to see in the camera. Right there it looks blunt. Right here you can see it, but it's a pointy shape. It's quite pointy, triangular. Look at the tail. So the tail, you can kind of see it. Very pointy though. I'm about 5 days into this deck right now, about 5 skates into it. Old man skates, remember. It's still feeling really nice and crisp. So the first day, it felt really stiff, and especially because it has such steep concave. So it was steeper concave and a steeper feeling nose and tail than the crooked 8.06 that I just tried. So very steep concave, felt very stiff. After about 3 or 4 skates, it got a tiny bit less stiff. But it might have also been because I got new shoes. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed that when you get new shoes, it all of a sudden makes the deck feel about a week older. So I think that had a little bit to do with it. As I'm getting used to these shoes, this deck is feeling pretty new again. I'm riding it right now on my independent 139 Stage 9s vintage. So the concave is still feeling nice and deep. In fact, so much so, I've got like a really nice bruise on my instep that it's actually hurting. A flat deck would probably feel better with my very bruised instep. However, I typically like very steep concave because it helps me flick my boards faster and more consistently. So first off, let's do a little flat ground on this deck. Like I said, I got a bruised instep and new shoes, so don't expect too much from me. Oh. So far, 5 days in, I'm really enjoying this board. So it's got that steep, pointy feel. And what it reminds me of is the way chocolates used to feel in the 90s. I remember one Slam City Jam, I bought a board off Keenan Milton, and it had ventures on it, so like the small, low, skinny ventures, and it was probably a 7.5 or a 7.6 deck, and it had super steep nose and tail, and I think a long wheelbase. So the fingers of flat was really small, and pairing that with ventures gave it that like super levery, super snappy pop. Like the kind of pop that somebody might be able to switch flip over a picnic table on. You know, that trick has been done a lot of times, but I don't think anybody's done it better than Keenan. So I did switch my trucks to Thunders on this deck, and it's made it like super duper duper pointy poppy. I'm really enjoying it. The manual point is really nice on Thunders, but that has a lot to do with just because these Thunder 147s have a wicked manual point. Especially when you only do them 8 feet long. Now let's try them a little longer. So I'm in the mood to plow through some flip tricks right now, but I only have 38 minutes until I need to run away and go and pick up my daughter. So let's see what we can do in that time. I'm down to 20 minutes. Let's play around on these ledges a little bit, see what I can pull off today. Seeing as how I've landed only about maybe 10 of those in my entire life, I might have to take that one. Let's give it another shot to see if I can get a bit better. Okay, I'm gonna take it. So I do like this deck quite a lot on Thunders, although I think it paired best with Indies. So you might be wondering, why am I doing a Woodshop review? And this is not an advertisement for a Woodshop. Like, I wasn't given these to test them out and make a promotional video. The reason I got this deck is because for a few months I was obsessed with starting a deck brand. However, as I thought about it more and more, I realized I was just going to be a needle in a haystack. And also, already managing a small construction company is so much work. And I really don't want to have another business on top of that, what with all the shipping and orders and everything, and then probably not making that much money to do it. I kind of think that, like, for me, trying to sell skateboards at this point is going to be like a kid in high school selling joints to supply their habit. I think that's about as good as it's going to be. So in terms of the shape, I love the concave and I love the steep kicks. The wheelbase is great, the length is great, and the length of the nose and tail are great. The only thing that would make this deck even better for me is if it was more of a popsicle stick shape instead of pointy. And I'm sure Clutch probably has some decks like that. One thing I noticed these guys do is they do put a stamp on the top so you can see what model it is. And this one is B5. So this is about 3 weeks old now. It still has a lot of pop. Now, one thing I am noticing is there's some pretty good pressure cracks. That hasn't affected how the deck feels or anything. The other thing I have no idea about is the quality of graphics. I'm guessing it's just going to be a heat transfer. Like, if you want to get blanks and do the screen printing yourself, you can do that. But I'm guessing it's just going to be a heat transfer. I have no idea if it's going to be any better or worse than any other company. So these are pressed in Mexico, which doesn't mean the same as what people used to think it means. I mean, a lot of the bigger companies are all made in Mexico. There's PS Sticks and Generator. Those are all Mexican pressed decks. So if you're looking to have some decks pressed for a shop deck, or if you're wanting to start up a small brand, I definitely don't think these are decks to shy away from. Pretty good quality. I'm looking forward to trying the other one I have because it's got less concave. So I want to see if it stays as stiff. This one is still really stiff. And honestly, I think this would stay stiff for at least another couple weeks. I don't think it was ever going to go soggy. But anyways, this is part 1 of reviewing Clutch Woodshop. And it'll be about another month before I have a review up of the next deck. So thanks for watching, and until next time.